Uh, Thank you so much and good afternoon. I am Dr. Renee Dorn, Director of Alumni Relations for GSEP, and this is our Student Alumni Roundtable for the MA in Clinical Psychology MFT with Latinas for this program. And I'm so thrilled for you to be with us today. We have the program director, Dr. Miguel Guillar.
Hi. Oh,
Okay. Dr. Miguel Gallardo?
yep. Hi. I'm here.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Welcome, welcome. And we have three alums that are joining us. We have Susan, Carla, and Nayeli. So welcome, welcome, welcome. In addition, we have several students who are currently in the program that are joining us. So welcome. And just to get us started, let me share my screen with you.
You. Likewise. ¿Cómo has estado? Bien. Bien. Estudiando, I'm like in a.
Mhm. All right. Let me share my screen. Can everyone see this right now for the PowerPoint? Okay. Yes. So, as I said, these will be our speakers for the day. Dr. Miguel Gallardo, who's the professor and program director of Aliento and the Center for Latino Communities. And then our alumni speakers, Carla Carrillo, Susan Arias Clink, and Nayeli Osorio. So thank you for joining us. Just to get started, let's talk a little bit about, and I'll ask Dr. Gallardo first to get started. Um, could you tell everybody just a snippet about the program and what they can expect coming up in the future for the program?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Dorn. It looks like we have primarily our current students here in the program, which is great. And so I won't say a whole lot about what the program is because you already know that. But just to give you a few things that are coming up that I think are really important. So as I think several of you know, we're in the process of developing our own specific Aliento training sites, practicum sites. Ida is in one of those right now, actually, and she's doing her hours there. And we're in process of developing more sites. We have four that are really already in existence to really help just train our students specifically in the training model that we are trying to teach you about in the program, and then helping you sort of implement that when you're doing your work out in the community. And so that's something new for us that we didn't we really just started doing this past year, and really hit the ground running this year with those. So I think that's a really good plus for us and a real benefit to the training program overall. And then
Absolutely.
yeah, and then I think another one that I think is really important is that we're going to be changing our name if everything
Oh,
is approved in some ways. We have to go through an approval process, but as many of you know, the term Latinx is really, I think, the more
mhm.
relevant and I think inclusive and responsive, I think term that we should be using. And so I'm in process of putting together a proposal for the UAC University Academic Council to change the name to Aliento, the Center for Latinx Communities. It'll be a lot shorter than what we have now, and I think it's just more relevant. And I think a lot of students actually who are even applying to the program now are writing that in their personal statements and using that, and when they talk about our communities. I certainly use it and talk about it, and so we really want to make sure we do that, and are really kind of keeping up with that as well. Dr. Dorn also asked me if I would just say a few things about any upcoming conferences or trainings. The California Latinx Psychological Association is very active right now, and really doing a lot of trainings. Our One of our faculty members, Dr. Salgado, did a training on anti-racism and therapy recently. They have some other ones coming up, and so I would try to connect with CLPA if you can, and Dr. Carrie Castaneda Sound, who's one of our sort of faculty colleagues and part of this program, but who runs the evening format MFT program, is also very involved with CLPA. Connie Morlet's very involved with CLPA, another faculty member. So make sure you connect with those folks. You know, the one thing I think is important as you think about what's coming up after you finish the program is to really try to expand your professional connections and network now as much as possible. There's a whole world outside of this program. While I think we do a really good job, and we still are learning and growing every year and doing things differently. There's so many ways of thinking about the work that we do, and so many wonderful professionals and communities that exist outside our program that I think
Mm.
are really advantageous for all of you to think about connecting to, and really starting to do that now. And so obviously reach out to me if I can be helpful in making connections for you with some of these places, but start to expand your network now. I think that's important. So just a few updates.
Oh, no, that's perfect.
Mhm.
That's excellent information. Thank you. Now, you
Sure.
had mentioned about the different sites that are currently in
Mhm.
existence.
Mhm.
Where are those located, and what are some of the other locations that you want to have future sites?
Yeah, so right now, most of them are in the Orange County areas, from northern Orange County all the way down to, down here in South Orange County. I'm located at our. All the students know this. I'm located at our graduate program in Irvine, and so I really have most of my work in the community for the last probably almost 2 decades has been here in Orange County, and so the relationships I have just sort of have naturally evolved into partnerships here in the
Right.
county. And so we have a couple of we have two actually, and we're going to have three in the Santa Ana area, which is a heavily Latinx, where a lot of our Latinx community members live. One of them is OCTAC, the Orange County Children's Therapeutic Arts Center. Another one is Resilience OC, which works with youth in high schools, particularly undocumented youth in high schools, their families. And also, there's one that we're going to be starting and launching soon. It's a trans Latinx agency that works specifically with Latinx communities who are transgender,
Oh,
and
nice.
it's the only agency that exists here in Orange County, and 90% of the individuals who are seeking services there are primarily Spanish speaking. And so
Mm.
we're going to be working with them. And then we have Abrazad Incorporated, which is where Ida is at and doing her practicum. I got you right when you took a bite, so it's perfect timing. And so it's sort of older adults primarily, but all the way through youth. So it's nice. We have a nice, I think, range of places, and we're starting to build sites and opportunities in the LA area as well. So one of the other partnerships that we have is through Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, which is CLUE. And they are based out of LA, downtown LA,
Oh,
and they have offices every other places down here in Orange County. But it's basically clergy from a number of different religious and spiritual backgrounds, and lay folks like all of us who are not
right.
part of the clergy life and training, who come together and work for they're trying to help increase wages for workers who are not getting paid the right wages. They were
Right.
very active during this, and have been during this whole COVID-19, and really making sure that people are treated with sort of like as a human being in many ways, and not dehumanized through their work environments and through the things they're being asked to do. And so what we've been doing with them is we've been offering workshops through them, through community agencies and lay advocacy groups, community members who are out there hitting the ground, trying to advocate for, preservation of rent control and all these other kinds of things, not losing, property or land where they could be, doing their own vegetation, even here in Santana and every other places around here in cities. And so really
Right.
active, trying to preserve. And then in LA, we just got contacted with from a pastor in LA, in the Long Beach area, who works with truck drivers, um,
Oh,
who who are really, I mean, I think a lot of times during this whole COVID-19 situation, we've referred to people as the people who are out there working as heroes, and I
right.
think in some ways some of those folks are certainly making a choice to do that, and I really value that. And in other cases, as many of you know, many folks from our communities are hostages. They
Right.
have no choice but to
Right.
go work under these in these circumstances. they
That's
they they
true.
they don't they're not able to make the decision. Like, if they don't work, they don't get paid, they don't have food, they don't have rent, they don't have whatever it is. And so what's happened is that a lot of these Latino men, who are primarily the truck drivers, in the Long Beach area, through the port there, which is one of the largest ports in the country,
Right.
they're struggling. They're struggling,
Yeah.
and she's like, they need help. One of them died by suicide about two and a
Oh
half
my
3 weeks ago,
goodness.
and so there's a huge need. So we're in the process of beginning to offer some educational workshops and support to that community
Oh.
as well.
Oh, that's
And
excellent.
yeah, and so any of our current students, alumni, folks are always welcome to participate in those, and they're primarily in Spanish.
Mhm.
Dr. Salgado has been the one who's sort of overseeing some of the implementation of some of those things. So a lot of really, I'd say the thing that we try to do, as from being in the program, is it's important for us to make sure we're bridging the gap between the town and the gown, if you will.
Yes,
If we're
yes.
not doing that, we're not doing our job in this program. And so I think we need to do that. And all of our alumni who are out there, doing the work, I mean, they're really doing that, and really manifesting those realities in ways that, I think are really meaningful and important, particularly now. So.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Oh,
Mhm,
that's great. That's
mhm.
great. Okay, I'd like to bring in at this point our alums who have graduated from the program, Susan and Carla and Nayeli. So I'd like to ask each one of you, if you could just tell me a little bit, why did you want to select, or why did you select this particular program to be a part of? And then talk about a little bit some of the challenges you had while you were in the program and how you overcame those challenges. So, Nayeli, I'll start with you.
So, I'm a DACA student, and it took me 10 years to do undergrad. And I did my BA in psychology with a minor in women's studies. And as much as I loved psychology, internally I would sit in class and struggle sometimes because some of the theories, the way they were presented in undergrad,
Mm,
I could sit there and be like, well, that's great and dandy, but it doesn't apply to XY community for BCD reasons. And so when I looked at grad programs, was hesitant to continue on to psych
hmm,
because of that. Um,
okay,
and in and I started looking at various programs. I was looking at public administration, public policy, just
right.
an array of different options. And then I went to an idealist grad fair and came across this program, and it just completely shocked me. It stopped me in my tracks, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is perfect." It's community service oriented, it's social justice oriented. Um, and being a DACA student, it actually took me a year and a half to apply because I
Oh,
didn't see
wow.
myself having access to an institution like Pepperdine.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. I see.
and so I just kept looking everywhere else. I was looking for a job because that was my plan A. And it just got to the point where this was the only program that really spoke to me, that really connected to me, that I could really see having the most impact in our communities. And so I took the leap, and it ended up being the only program I applied to.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
one of my girlfriends always makes fun of me. She's like, I don't know a single person that only applies to one program and it's their dream program and like they get in. Um, and so yeah, and in terms of challenges, I God, the program itself was not challenging. Well, it is
Mm,
challenging, but not in the sense of like the struggles, right? Being
right.
being DACA under this particular administration was in and of itself a huge hurdle. And I had my moments where the anxiety would kick in and be really, really intense. And um, internally, I just told myself that the only thing I could do at the time was to focus and succeed in this program so that then I can utilize these skills that I'm being blessed with to help our communities grow and heal. Um,
Right.
and the way I overcame everything that happened, both everything that this administration threw at our communities and everything that happened within my own family, because I had a number of challenges within my own family that were very difficult, uh,
Right.
was to rely on a support system. Um, I, one of the most challenging days or situations through in this program was when I had to renew my DACA permit the first semester, and
Oh, wow.
for my first year, and it happened. My appointment happened to be set um, the first Monday after the first Muslim ban went into effect, and I went from being okay to just panicking and
Right.
feeling in this overwhelming intense anxiety. And I cannot stress how supportive Dr. Gallardo and Dr. Garcia Ramos and everybody at GSEP was. I was also working as a research assistant on campus, and so being able to rely on everybody that I was working with and everybody that I had at GSCP, it really became a family
Yes.
for me. I love everybody. And I didn't have any support in undergrad. And so for me, that was a huge shift where I was like, okay, this is difficult, but like it helped me bounce back a lot faster. And then just staying organized. Um,
Right.
I I would there was days when I would just go Sundays I would go to the Malibu campus and sit at Drescher Library and just power through all my readings.
Okay. All right. Did that make it easier for you to get through your different classes? Just have that one set time where you could just go through everything?
Yeah, because I don't study well at home. I never
Mhm.
have, and so for me, I remember starting off the first 2 weeks of the program and thinking like, yes, I'm just gonna, do this, and I would find myself be consistently behind, and so I just once I started finding that pattern that worked for me, where I was like, okay, I can go to the library and get away from everybody. Like, all even if friends were calling me or family was calling me, I was like, "Well, I'm in Malibu, so sorry, guys." Um, and and it was just so easy to just block off all the world and just focus on what I needed to do, and I would just go down to John's Garden, get myself a salad, go up to the library, and just sit down all day.
And just work.
Yeah.
Just work. That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Nayeli. Carla, I want to ask you the same question. So why did you choose this program and what were some of your challenges and how did you overcome them?
So, for me, it was a really big deal to do grad school because, like I am the very first person like to graduate college. And so it was kind of like a shock to my parents where they're like, wait, like, didn't you finish school? Like, what do you mean you want to go back to school? Like, well, wait, aren't you a psychologist? Like, I'm like, no. It was like, I graduated from college during the recession in 2008. So then finding jobs and it was just a really tough time to graduate.
Right.
So I waited for a while. Meanwhile, I had like a really comfortable government job that paid really well. And then later on it was harder to leave it and like leave my house and my own place and go back to being a poor student. So that was a big challenge for me. So kind of like pulling the plug and actually um applying to the program, just like Nayeli, this was the only program that I applied to. I had heard of the Malibu program when I was in undergrad, and it was kind of like my dream program. Um, but it was kind of like one of those like, oh, like it's never gonna be for me type of thing. It was like that would be my ideal dream campus,
Right.
but it didn't even occur to me to apply to it. So then, I ended up getting a promotion at work and I hated it. It was a lot of money and it was really comfortable, but I just hated it. And then one of those days while I was at work, I looked at the Malibu program and I saw the Aliento program. They were on their first cohort. And I was like, what? So I had an interview with Dr. Gallardo to ask about it and to kind of see if I had a chance because, I didn't feel like I was a strong candidate, but he encouraged me to apply. So then I applied, kind of expecting not to get in, so trying not to get my hopes up. But I did get in, and then so there I
Yes.
was. Um, Definitely my personal life, like I had so many challenges during grad school. Like it was like, oh my god, one after the next. At some point, I didn't have a place to stay here in LA, so it was like
Mm,
couch surfing while my financial aid kicked in.
mm,
Um,
yes.
so that was like a big challenge for me. I had like a week job and then practicum in the afternoon and then school at night and then like a weekend job.
Right.
And so that was tough. But there was a lot of I the second semester or the third semester, kind of like when I got the hang of it, like I was able to get a ton of scholarships and a ton of financial aid. So then that kind of make my situation a little better. Um, and then of course what I loved about the program was that I was going to be working with the Latinx community, which is
Yes.
like I want to help my community. Due to my brother has autism, so it was really difficult for my family to navigate through the system and getting the help and assistance he needs, and he kind of fell through the
Mm,
cracks, and like I just didn't want other families such as mine to like be in that position where it's like, okay,
right.
well, we didn't know we could do this. So again, like Nayeli said, the social justice aspect of it, the
Right.
liberation psychology that we learning from all of the professors who are pioneers in the Latinx psychology community, that was really important for me.
Oh,
And then, yeah, that was the main that was those are the main reasons why I chose the program. While in the program, um, I guess I never realized what the concept of like microaggressions and privilege and you know,
yes.
colorism and all of that stuff. I kind of like grew up in this bubble in San Diego where it was like I didn't even
Um,
know it was still a thing. So that was like a personal challenge of mine as far as like the education and the material where like I did not get it at first. Like I remember having
right.
these long conversations with Dr. Gallardo and me being just super annoyed where I was like, well, can we just move on? Like, okay, got it, microaggressions. Like but then it wasn't until later when I was like, oh, this is why it's important.
Right.
Well, I hadn't realized that I had experienced them, and obviously like it didn't affect me in the way that it affects like, for example, like some of my clients. So I think that was like a big learning experience for me on top of like the textbooks and everything else, kind of like learning
Yes.
about privilege, colorism, microaggressions, all of those things that I did not. I was just oblivious to the fact of the impact that it has in mental health, especially like in our children and our families and our community.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
That's very insightful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank
thank you.
you. Yeah. Susan, I want to go to you next. So could you tell us why this program and what were some of your challenges and how did you overcome them?
Well, actually, I my story was that I applied to several doctorate programs,
Mm.
trying to get in because some of the schools actually had in within the program you can gain a master's. And
Oh,
when I reached out to feedback because they didn't accept me, and it was really competitive. They had suggested that I needed more research and more clinical experience. So I was looking for a master's program, and then I found Malibu, and I was actually interested in. I didn't know about Aliento. I had applied to the Malibu campus,
Mhm.
and then I found out about Aliento. And right when I learned about the program, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is for me. This is meant for me. I'd love to get in." And fortunately, I got in, and it was the most I don't know, surreal experience for me just being in the program. And just learning about things that I'm like, I wasn't a traditional student. I just turned 45, and I have two children, and I'm married. So, I brought a lot of lived experience into how I was seeing the world and the challenges that, that I had seen over the years. So, I was able to bring that, but I did a lot of healing process as well, just for myself, even working within the community. And the I really enjoyed that I was able to connect with my clients. Not so much speaking Spanish, but just connecting to
Mhm.
my clients and just using like liberation psychology, social justice, humanistic existential ways of approaching therapy that maybe perhaps those clients didn't have the opportunity to have that with previous clinicians. But I really gathered a lot of knowledge, but as well as clinical experience. And because I did ultimately want to get my doctorate,
Right.
I did also do some research. And Gallardo was an amazing mentor for me, and I
Mhm.
was able to do that along the way. So in regards to kind of the challenges, it was definitely difficult to kind of balance it all, being a mother, having family, just I had to give up some stuff along the way, and just
Right.
kind of coming to terms with that was something that was difficult to process. And I continue doing that now as a doctoral student. So yeah, I mean, I had concerns regarding finances, and
Mhm.
that's something that's continued as well. But my ultimate goal, it's like I'm almost there. I'm almost at reaching there. And I just really appreciate the program and how it actually prepared me to go into the doctorate as well, because a lot of my fellow peers um, did not get that training. The multiculturalism, I even went into the multicultural track, and there were so many students in there who just were not aware about like of the cultural factors,
Yes.
microaggressions, political issues, like working with specific like communities and how to kind of address that. So yeah,
Oh,
I don't know.
wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. So, for all of the alums, I'd like for you to just give all of the students one tip that that helped you to get through your programs and you think could help them to get through their programs or their classes. So, I'm going to go back to Carla first.
So for me, I think the speaking up and like asking for help, because that was for me a concept that I kind of like grew up like just having to fend for myself and kind of figure things out like as a first generation Latinx in school basically. Like, it's like I just didn't even realize that I could ask for help from my professors. So I remember this one time I just came to school and I just sat down and Dr. Serrano sees me and he's like, "Do you need an extension for your paper?" And I looked up and I was like, "Yes, I do. Like, that would be so nice." He's like, "Okay, just give it to me this weekend." I was like, "Thank you so much." And then after that, that gesture from him kind of like helped me reach out for help and even for like financial aid and scholarships and stuff. And so yeah, I think that would be my piece of advice. Use your resources and talk to your professors, because I feel that all of my professors always understood the struggle that it was to be like a poor first generation grad school student at Pepperdine University.
Thank you, thank you. Nayeli, what would be your one tip that you think would be able that the students could use to help them?
I mean, I certainly echo Carla. I think that was such a whole new concept for me is being able to reach out to professors and talk to them. I mentioned my story earlier about Dr. Gallardo, and I emailed him, and I still tear up sometimes when I tell the story because he like emailed me back and was so supportive in a way that he was not diminishing my anxiety and what I was experiencing,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
but he was trying to be comforting and supporting at the same time, and he just worded it so beautifully and so it was amazing, and like gives me his cell phone number, and I was just sitting there going like, what just happened? Like, did the director of the program just give me his cell phone? And he was just like, if you need anything, like you call me or text me. And that was just like mind blowing to me because, like I said, I didn't have any support in
Mhm.
undergrad. Um, and so it made such a huge difference. And in terms of like Carla, like I had a couple of other situations with my family. I had a family member get put on a hold. Um, and I was able to go to one of my professors and talk to her, and it helped me process what was going on and be prepared to what was going to happen. Um, and just developing a good schedule that works for you guys. Like you guys know what works best for you, and what works best for the person next to me is not necessarily what works best for me.
Right.
And so not judging yourself based on how other people are working or doing, because it doesn't always benefit you. And sometimes I feel like I think I saw this a lot in terms of finishing the program really quickly. Some people that have other stuff going on felt constrained or pushed to finish it faster, and you just have to step back and analyze what your circumstances are,
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody, Susan's circumstances were not the same as mine or Carla's, and we just going at your own pace and being comfortable with that, which I don't think is talked about enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Susan, what one tip would you be able to give the students that could help them get through their program?
Oh, just like when Nayeli said, I was actually going to share taking, like, not to compare to others in the program because everybody has a different path, or they might have challenges that they have to deal with or overcome. So just take it with in your path. If it takes 2 years to do, 3, 4,
Right.
yeah, just pretty much that. And just reaching out and just building that community with your peers, having that support, because having that support with your peers is going to help you so much along the way, is what I would share.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to open it up to the students. So if you have any questions regarding maybe your professors or what's going on in your classes, or anything that you would like to ask the alums or ask Dr. Gallardo about, this is your opportunity to speak up and to get some questions answered. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and take yourself off mute, and we'd love to hear what you have to say.
I have a question for Nayeli. Hi, I'm Tanya. Sorry.
Hi,
And
Tanya.
so you mentioned that you were a DACA student. So I was wondering, what type of scholarships or financial aid did you acquire? Because I'm also a DACA student, and it's a little different if from in my situation, I'm not able to apply to FAFSA.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, how did you go for financial aid?
So, I applied to very few scholarships, and for me, it goes back into like my trauma from undergrad. Um, there's the Marco Garcia Scholarship that is put out every year, um, and that's a $2,500 scholarship. So that was basically the only one that I got from school. Um, and then just being so overwhelmed because I'm the oldest, I'm the resource broker, and I'm the first in my family to be in higher ed, right? Having a 40 to 50-mile commute and juggling my own work, my own school, because I don't depend on my parents. And then just all the stuff that came up politically and then with family, it left little room for me to like focus on applications for scholarships. I tried, like I really did sometimes. And then sometimes it just, I, it had to be one of those boundaries I set for myself where it's like, well, like I can't do it all. So like, I'll just figure it out. And for me, it just ended up being personal loans. I primarily only got personal loans. Um, and it also goes back to like, I really struggled with putting my story on paper for a really long time or even talking about it. Like, and so a lot for me, a lot of like the scholarship stuff was really difficult when I was younger and at the beginning of the program. I can't tell you how much I struggled to do my personal statement. um, I had sat down for like a month on my own and could not write more than 3 sentences. And I luckily had a friend of mine who was applying to med school and was like, here, I'm going to send you 8 personal statements from undocumented youth that are applying to med school across the country. And I was like, okay. And it just helped me because it wasn't one particular statement, was pieces of each that I was able to kind of use that format and then just put in my story. So I just really struggled with reaching out and finding the resources because I'm so used to doing things on my own. Um, but there are resources. I know there are. I just when I was in the thick of it, it was just really difficult for me to make the time.
Thank you. Yeah, that
Thank
helps.
you.
Just really quick, Tanya, do you look at the scholarship and sort of list that we send out through the program? Have you looked at
Yeah,
that?
yes, I did.
Yeah, there should be some for DACA students and whatnot on there. I don't know how robust it is, but we try to do that. I don't know if it's helpful or not, but yeah, we keep looking. We keep looking.
So if I may interrupt, Tanya, the one organization I'm going to recommend that you follow is Pre-Health Dreamers. They have a list of scholarships for undocumented students in various fields.
And it's pre-health dreamers.
Yes,
Cool. Thanks,
they're
Nayeli.
based out of San Francisco, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Thank
do a
you.
lot of advocacy work, and they do a lot of my the same girlfriend that helped me actually put together a lot of those scholarship lists that they have.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for the alums or Dr. Gallardo? Um, and if you don't want to speak up, you can put it in the chat as well, just to let us know what you're thinking or if you have any questions, anything. But this is your time to share. And it looks like Sophia was able to put in the chat some information for you. So you can also look in the chat for the information that we were just talking about in some websites.
I have a question. Oh, were you gonna go,
Yes.
Erica? Erika,
Go
were
ahead.
you gonna go?
I'll
Okay.
go for you, Fatima.
I just had a question about the doctoral program. If anyone, maybe it's for Dr. Gardo, maybe for Susan, anyone that has experience, I'm considering it and I just, yeah, your thoughts or information would be helpful.
I'll let Susan chime in since Susan went through the process and I think you would be great, Fatima, by the way. That was Fatima, right?
Yep, that's me.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, let me
So,
put my
okay.
video on.
Yeah, I think you'd be great. So I'll stop there and let Susan take it, and I'll jump in whatever Susan doesn't fill in. Okay.
Yes. Hi, Fatima. I didn't catch everything you said. Sorry, because I got distracted by my son. But I think you were asking regarding the doctorate program, like my experience, or kind of sharing something about that. So right now, I'm currently a fourth year student there. I actually had to extend, and I'm actually extending another year just because it's my own challenges, my what I'm kind of going through my process. But it's yeah, for me, I definitely feel like Aliento prepared me, like I mentioned earlier, to get in. But um, but it is very rigorous. It does take a lot of your time. I didn't have time for friends really. It was just my focus was doctorate, my family, and it's been hard to kind of challenge it all, to deal with the challenges along the way. Um, yeah, it's full time. So the schedule is like, the beginning was getting there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't get home until like 8, 10 p.m. at night. So it's, a lot of classes. And it seems like they like to bombard you with the most intense classes at the beginning, the first 2 years. So it's just kind of like learning how to manage that, managing the stress, a lot of report writing. It also depends, like what maybe specialty you want to get into. So there are options. There's specific tracks, like if you want to go into a CBT track, psychodynamic track. For me, because it resonates with me more, I continued doing multicultural and humanistic existential. And for me, it just really resonates for the work that I want to do. I was able to work at different sites. I worked at the Union Rescue Mission for 2 years. I worked at the Orange County Healthcare Agency, which I was working with youth who were incarcerated but also released. So I was working with those as well. And 2 years right now that I'm at Cerritos College. And it's kind of like I wanted to get a range of different populations to work with. Primarily, the first 2 years, I did a lot of therapy in Spanish. But these last 2 years, I don't have a lot of clients who speak Spanish that come into Cerritos. But yeah, it's been great. I don't know if maybe if you might have something a little bit more specific to ask, or that maybe I can help you with, if I can
Oh,
add
that's
something.
helpful. Thank you.
Fatima, anything that you want me to chime in about with regards to that?
No, maybe I'll email you separately, but
Okay.
thank you. I
Uh,
appreciate the
yeah,
general information. It's
yeah.
helpful.
And I did want to add that if anybody's interested to reach out to me, I can share my email address, and you can always reach out if you have more questions or you would like some more information.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, Erica, you had a question also?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Um, I was hoping to hear a little bit about how what transition is like out of the program. I'm about to finish, and so I just wanted to hear a little bit about what it was like for you three, as you were, maybe looking for a job or transitioning into another program. What that was like.
Honestly, because and I've heard this is the experience for like most of the people in my cohort. Like when we got out of our internship, we already had job offers. Um, it's in Orange County. I think Dr. Gallardo has made a really good job about establishing like an aliento presence, and they really like aliento students. So it was really easy for me to get a job. I got a job offer at the practicum site where I was, and then I actually got the California MFT stipend for Orange County. So then I had to work in Orange County for 12 months. But at the 12th month, I reached out to my other Aliento students, and I was like, "Hey, who's hiring?" So another person from the previous cohort, she's like, "Hey, my agency is hiring." So then that's how I got my second job, because I've only been at two different places. But I feel that it's really easy once they know that you have been trained to work with the Latinx community and that you speak Spanish, because it's a really coveted skill set.
Let's see.
Erica, did you have anything more specific that you wanted to make sure they answered?
No, I think it's just nice to hear everyone's experience. I think, especially in the time during the pandemic, I know folks who graduated from my cohort have definitely had a different experience transitioning out. So it's a little nerve wracking. So it's
Yeah.
probably different experience, but I appreciate you sharing that, Carla. And I do agree. I think I'm so grateful for this program because we've definitely developed a skill set that's very needed, especially during these times. So yeah, I was thinking that it's a lot different right now with COVID, but I
Yeah.
think it's nice to hear your experience.
You're right. It probably is. However, I do know that a bunch of agencies are hiring right now. So feel free to reach out to us or to other cohorts because they always have resources. Like I know I keep in touch with my cohort through like a group chat. And then, so whenever someone's hiring, whenever we need a letter of rec, whenever we need resources, like, hey, does anyone have worksheets in Spanish for ADHD? For yes. And then, it really makes me feel like I still have a support system even after the fact that I graduated
Thank you.
already. So if you were thinking more in that sense, your first year is probably the most difficult, and then it gets easier as far as like being a therapist.
I'm actually going through that process right now, Erica. I know that my last class I took with you, um, and because of the car accident I had, it set everything back for me. I wasn't able to finish my last loan. I ended up owing the school money, so everything was on hold, and I couldn't apply for my associate number. And I finally got all of that cleared out, and I'm starting to apply. And what I will say is that it's helpful if you reach out to other alumni. Like I just applied to one organization and I reached out to somebody that used to work at Pepperdine that I worked with, and she works there now and she's helping me there. Um, but even with another, like Carla was saying, like within your cohort or other cohorts, I had somebody else in from the Aliento program that was in a different cohort that texted me a week or two ago and was like, "Hey, my agency's hiring." So just building those connections with and networking within the cohorts and within other GSCP alumni is going to help tremendously. One of the things that I was told, and I forget who told me this, but when you're looking to apply, go on LinkedIn and look at who in the organization is a Pepperdine alum, and then reach out to them. Whether or not you know them, just reach out to them. My experience has been that Pepperdine alum help Pepperdine alum, regardless of whether you actually have already met them or not. They've just all been very supportive and wonderful. So that's my recommendation.
I think that was really great, Nayeli. And one thing that we can do with alumni relations is to create a subgroup in Pep Connect. So under the GSEP group that's already there,
Yeah.
so that Aliento can have its own group so that the students and alumni can connect. And Dr. Gallardo, if it's okay with you, we can have you as the administrator for that subgroup so that you can connect with everyone and the students and alumni would be able to connect as well.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great. And then, Eric, also, I think, I would say reach out to us, ask us too. Like, your faculty, ask me, make sure your peers reach out to us because sometimes we get jobs, they send me stuff. Sometimes they're looking for, you know, us graduates and they need folks and whatnot. So, if you send it to us, we can send it out to all our alumni and other folks that we have in our email distribution list. And And then as we get things, I try to pass them along as I get stuff. But I think what Carla said was good around, and what Nayeli said. I think folks are really good at supporting each other, particularly within the system. And so yeah, there are places hiring though. That's happening, and so it kind of depends on where you're looking and what you're looking for. But that's what we're here for. So make sure you reach out to us. Tell your peers too to do the same thing if anyone's having any issues.
Yes, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Mhm.
And I will say this, like, if any of you guys want to add me on LinkedIn, like, add me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect you to whoever I know. Um, or if anybody ever needs any help, I'm always happy to be the resource broker. It's kind of ingrained in me.
Now, there was one last question that I wanted to get to because someone asked, how do you prepare to be competitive enough to be accepted into a doctoral program? And I know, Susan, you said that you would connect with that one person, but if you could just maybe say a few words about that, how did you make yourself competitive enough to be accepted into a doctoral program?
Sure. Well, my first, I think, point of contact was Dr. Gallardo. I whenever he sent out an email like looking for students for projects, I was there like, how can I help or what can I do, and reaching out to either staff or other professors in the program, and just kind of letting them know this is what I want to do. Like, how can I obtain it? Like, what do I need to do along the way? So I did a lot of research, which was one part, and then getting involved doing community service, just to kind of just adding more to my CV. Um, I don't know, like to say pretty much that I just try to balance it all with school because it was
Mhm.
tough, but since that was my ultimate goal, I just try to make time for that. Yeah, and just tried, kept doing my best at that. But I think Dr. Gallardo was an amazing mentor. I had the opportunity to go to Buenos Aires for the
Mm.
program that year when I was there. So I believe that was really helpful for me. Again, I know it's really tough, and I don't know like how that's going to go going forward with COVID. But yeah, just trying to find different ways to just keep adding to my CV. So just research, community service, community outreach, workshops. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Dr. Gallardo, would you have any tips for someone who wants to get into a doctoral program, what they
Yeah, I
need to
mean,
do?
yeah, reach out to me. I think, whether it's to our program or to any other program, I mean, reach out to me, reach out to your faculty. I mean, particularly those of us who have doctorate degrees. And we can help you think about sort of what you might need to do along the way to make sure you're preparing yourself so that you are competitive. I certainly think our program is really, I think it really does separate a lot of applicants out in some ways because no one's getting as much culturally centered
Mhm.
training as you are in this program. I can guarantee you that. I mean, there's maybe one or two other programs who have a emphasis like ours around the country and whatnot, but we, it's rare, and so I think that's helpful. But research experience is important. Depending on what type of research, depending on what type of program, whether it's a PhD program, a PsyD program, looking for different things. So, and I can certainly help you sort through that and think about what kinds of things you might want to do. You can tell me what kind of programs you're thinking about applying to, which ones, and certainly if we know folks there, we reach out and try to make connections around just sort of what students can do to prepare themselves and all that. So, but I think research is important. So getting research experience is important to be able to do that if you want to go to a doc program.
That's
I also
wonderful.
I also wanted to add, there was actually a peer of mine who graduated with me, and she's actually reached out to me because she wants to get into a doctorate program, and she was kind of scared because she doesn't have a lot of research experience. But then I was telling her, I thought you were with me in this activity. We did this outreach. I mean, you can kind of mold it and look like it's well, it doesn't have to be research that you're actually going and administering surveys. It could be analyzing, even if you're working at specific sites, if you're like working at a county and you're providing surveys as well and kind of helping, doing workshops. It's like I was helping her mold it to kind of sound like it was a lot of research, but I mean it is research that she's doing, but it's not per se saying, I'm doing this research and here are the results and the outcome. So it could look so different. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Even if you've done poster presentations, yeah. So just kind of like molding it. Yeah.
That's wonderful. This has been a really great session today, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. Dr. Gallardo, thank you for all of your information, and to Susan and Carla and Nayeli, thank you for sharing your experiences, and being so personal with everything that you shared with us. I really appreciate that. I
Yeah,
really
thank
do.
you. Thanks, Dr. Dorn, for doing this, and Sophia for putting this together, and really helpful. Sophia's like the resource queen over here, man.
Yeah,
I
she
every time
is.
someone said something, there was a resource in the chat, and there was so.
Let me
Yes, and
tell you about Sophia. Sophia is just fantastic.
Yeah, I can
And
tell.
yes, for
It really is awesome.
she is. She
Yeah,
is. I got to
nice,
give it to her. She
nice.
is we work together every day, and she is just the most wonderful person to work with. Easy to work with.
Yeah.
Very easy to
Well,
work
well,
with.
thank you both. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. I put the survey on the chat for y'all to take. We welcome any feedback that you have from us. And I just really want to thank you all for the work that you're doing for our communities. I know there's a lot of stigma around mental health, especially in our Latinx community. So I just want to say thank you so much for all the work that you do.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Let me share this screen with you because um, if everyone can see this, as Sophia mentioned, we do have a short evaluation, and she put the link in the chat. So, because we'd love to get your feedback on this roundtable and to see how we can improve, and maybe some other topics that you'd like for us to focus on the next time we have a roundtable.
Mm.
So please click on that link and fill out the survey evaluation for us. And then if you ever need to contact our office, Alumni Relations, this is our contact information. Our email is gsepalum@pepperdine.edu. And our phone number, 310-568-5649. And we'd love for you to get involved with anything that's going on within GSEP. And if you have your phone, you see that QR code, we have an interest form. And actually, Sophia, if you could one more time put the link for the interest form in the chat, then we'd love for you to fill out that interest form to let us know what you would be interested in participating in regarding GSEP activities. Because we want to continue to have students and alumni and faculty and staff involved in what we do at GSEP. So if there isn't anything else, I think this is the end of our roundtable for today, and we'll look forward to having you for another roundtable, probably in the spring semester.
Great. Thank you. Thanks to our
So
alumni for being here too. Really appreciate the three of you. Thank you. Yeah,
yes, thank you. And we look forward to talking to all of you another time. So thank you, and all of you have a great day.
you too. Thank you, Dr. Dorn.
thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.